Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. Harrison Graham here. On today's show, we are going to take a look at Mel Kiper Jr.'s draft grades for the Chicago Bears. He did his annual grade for all 32 NFL teams. Let's see how the Bears stacked up, according to Mel Kiper. Kiper has the Bears at a B-, and he had a lot of teams in that B-minus range, the Bears being one of them, as, again, he grades all 32 teams every year. The main theme of why it wasn't, a B, B+, or an A is he felt the Bears missed some opportunities to get Justin Fields some more help, and I understand where he's coming from. The 2 defensive picks to start the draft has been met with some resistance. I have countered that with Ryan Poles has stuck to his board and got 2 quality football players, but let's hear what Mel had to say and break this down a little further. Here's what he had to say at first, saying, quote, "I just didn't love passing up on all the available wideouts and offensive tackles to take defensive backs in the second round. Kyler Gordon should be a rookie starter at corner, while Jaquan Brisker could be the starting strong safety. But why not add some help for Fields? The second-year quarterback is your guy for the long term, right? He doesn't have enough weapons to be even above average." I would counter that by saying, number one, the Bears had needs everywhere, not just on offense. Cornerback was a big need. Strong safety was a need. You filled both of those. I would also counter by saying that Justin Fields can improve without the Bears adding supreme talent. Now, that helps him improve faster in theory, but if the coaching is better, full offseason of Fields working more one-on-one with guys like Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, Cole Kmet, you get these full off TA programs and stuff like that as well. Fields can still improve and play better, even though the Bears aren't adding supreme talent. I would like for them to add another piece or 2 on offense. I'm still hopeful they will in free agency. I will say this, with the 2 premium picks they did have before the 3rd-round pick, which we'll talk about in a moment, this secondary is nice, man. Jalen Johnson has proven to be a good corner through his first 2 years. I think Kyler Gordon is going to be a plug-and-play CB2 as a rookie. Tavon Young can hold it down at nickel. Hopefully he stays healthy. Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker as your safety combo. I think Jackson's going to bounce back, and Brisker, everything I see about this kid, I love. He told both Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus that they found the steal of the draft in himself. He's extremely confident, which I like for my defensive guys as well. This secondary could be very good. You've got good depth, too. Guys who have played real snaps in the NFL at corner behind these guys. Kendall Vilder, who hasn't played great, but as a backup, yeah. Dane Cruikshank, DeAndre Houston Carson, Thomas Graham, Duke Shelley. These guys have played real snaps in the NFL, and they're going to be backups fighting for roster spots. So I think the secondary got retooled very quickly by Ryan Poles, and for that part of it, I think they were good picks, even if they didn't directly help Justin Fields and the offense. What was your grade for the Bears draft as a whole? I gave it a B. I want to know from you guys, A, B, C, D, or F. How did you feel about Ryan Poles' first draft? Now, if you want to go look at my individual Bears draft grades for every single pick, for every single player, and as the team as a whole, I said it was a B, but I explained kind of why in this video. Subscribe to the channel. Go find this video. It's, 2, 3, 4 videos ago. Just look for this thumbnail, and that is where you can watch it. And interact in the comments, both in this video and on that video, whether you agree or disagree with my grades for the Bears in this draft. Now, Mel Kiper went on to talk about the next pick, which was Velus Jones Jr. He said this, quote, "The wideout they did add later on day 2, Velus Jones Jr., is fast, but a little limited. He is one of the oldest prospects in this class. He'll turn 25 early in his rookie season," which, that could be a slight drawback. He'll be 28 by the final year of his contract, but at the same time, 28's not old. If you're considering giving him a second contract, that means it was a good pick, right? Like, if you want to give a rookie a second contract, that means you made a good pick. I've penciled him as wide receiver 3, but I think he's really going to be a jack of all trades, receiver, running back. They'll move him around. I think that'll work out pretty well for Chicago. I expect him to be an immediate contributor. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to have 1,300 all-purpose yards and 10 touchdowns or anything like that, but can he give you 500 receiving yards as a rookie, a couple hundred rushing yards perhaps, be a good return man, maybe change a game in that regard as well? I think those are very much milestones that could be in reach for Velus Jones Jr., and you're hoping he can find the end zone a handful of times. So I'm going to set the over-under at 4.5 touchdowns for Velus Jones. Maybe that's a little high, but I want to know, how many touchdowns is he going to have in his rookie season. Over 4.5, or type U for under 4.5, and that includes return touchdowns, rushing, receiving, all combined over or under 4.5 touchdowns. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Call-In app because we're growing over there. Do you want to call me, talk some Bears football with me directly, not just on chat, typing on the computer? Call-In is the way to do it because we're going to do weekly live shows. The link is below to subscribe. We schedule our shows in advance, so when you see that, click the notification bell. It'll remind you when we go live, and you can ask me your questions over the phone, sports radio style, not just, DM me on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. This is your chance to connect with me, my chance to connect with all of you as Bear fans. So subscribe, join us every single week. It won't be an exact day every single week. Sometimes it'll be Tuesday after YouTube Live. Sometimes it'll be another day. Keep in tune with what I'm doing, and I will keep you guys informed. Chatsports.com/BearsCallIn. That link to subscribe will be in the comments and in the description of this video. All right, so Mel Kiper moves ahead to day 3 now. Quote, there's a hole at right tackle, and Chicago took 2 fifth-round flyers on Brandon Jones and Zachary Thomas. Is Poles counting on them to compete to start? That's a lot to ask. I will agree with that. I do like lineman J-Tyre Carter as a potential starter down the road after some development time. Again, I just don't see this class helping Fields enough. Listen, the Bears could definitely help Fields more. They could. They could have drafted George Pickens instead of Kyler Gordon. I think Kyler Gordon's a safer pick and has a better chance to contribute right away than George Pickens, but they could have done that. Same with Brisker. They could have gone Sky Moore instead of Brisker or something like that. But, again, the 2 guys they drafted are going to start from day 1, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. So you can't really criticize the pick unless you just want to say Fields is screwed, and I just don't think Fields is going to be screwed. Now, I do want them to do more. If they don't add a right guard between now and week 1, I will be disappointed. I flat out would. We'll see what shakes out at left tackle. If it's Larry Borom or someone else, maybe they're going to give him a chance to earn that job outright. We'll see. We'll see if any of these rookies show something on the offensive line, as they did draft the 4 guys, and Kramer, Carter, Jones, and Thomas. I will say this, to Mel Kiper's point. 1 more wide receiver, 1 more offensive lineman in the starting caliber side, especially for offensive linemen, would be great. That would make me feel a lot better. I think you Bears fans would feel a lot better with that. But we do have to understand that this team had a lot of needs and still has a few needs. I mean, this is not an overnight draft a couple players and this team, has a top 5 roster in the league. That is just not how things sit right now. It's going to take a little bit of time. What is the Bears' bigger need after the draft? Wide receiver, offensive line. Type WR for receiver, type OL for offensive line. I would say for a starting side of things, a starting caliber player, it's O-line. Maybe overall it's receiver, but curious to see where you Bears fans sit after the NFL draft. So Mel Kiper gave it a B- as a draft overall. Again, I think you found 2 instant starters in Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker. I think Velus Jones is going to be a fun player. We'll see how much impact he can have, but I think he's got a chance to really help. Braxton Jones is one of these several offensive linemen. Mel didn't really talk about Dominic Robinson, but I think he's a fun developmental edge rusher out of Miami of Ohio. Curious to see what he brings. Zach Thomas, another one of these linemen. Doug Kramer. Treston Ebner, I think, can be a potential sleeper weapon as a running back / returner. Maybe he's one of your kick returners next to Velus Jones. Could be a possibility, as he did a lot of that at Baylor. J-Tyre Carter, another offensive lineman that Kiper actually mentioned as a potential future starter. Elijah Hicks, who, by the way, if you've seen his videos after he got drafted, he's fired up to be a Bear, going from the Golden Bears to the Chicago Bears. And then, hey, you got probably a starting punter in Trenton Gill as well out of North Carolina State, so we can't completely dismiss that either. And Ryan Poles has flat out said this. Can't fix everything in one offseason. He hasn't called it a rebuild, but it is a rebuild in at least some capacity. We have to acknowledge that. And you can rebuild while still competing. You can. So, they're not punting on this season, but, at the end of next offseason, we'll have a better feel for really how this GM operates and how this front office is, because once the Danny Trevathan and Tariq Cohen's dead money hits on June 1st, almost $60 million in dead cap. Thanks, Ryan Pace, for moving all that money down the road. So there you go. There's Mel Kiper's draft grade for the Bears. It's a B-. Subscribe to us on Call-In, like we said, weekly live shows, chatsports.com/BearsCallIn. That is the place to subscribe. It's free like YouTube. Doesn't cost you a dime. The more we grow over there, the more content we are able to do and the more interaction with all of you. So check us out, chatsports.com/BearsCallIn.